My name is Sarah, and I'm a Lebanese photographer based in Brooklyn. It was the first weekend of protests in New York City after the murder of George Floyd. Tensions were high, and police officers were using excessive force against protesters. That day, my friends had been providing first aid help to people and were treating those who had been pepper sprayed by the police. Unfortunately, the police deliberately targeted them for their work as medics, and they were beaten, shoved, and eventually arrested during the protests that unfolded over the weekend. This photo is of one of the protesters receiving first aid help by getting milk poured onto his face, commonly considered to be a street remedy for the pepper spray used by the police. Hey, I'm Sarah. I'm a hacker, a technologist, and an activist based in Brooklyn. Who is the person telling the story? We're not being seen by like a Westerner lens, like someone, from the US, from Europe, basically documenting things that they're not necessarily like affected by or concerned by. In this case, the people documenting, the people taking photos are the people
and talking
also
and
who are affected by it.
And saying their story.
Telling their stories through their own lens, through their own camera.
Yeah.
And that's very powerful. I think a big difference also actually is because of technology, it really changed who the person behind the lens is. Like, I think for a lot of protests around the world, or a lot of like movements that happen around the world, you talked about the Vietnam War, for example, it was a lot of like American and Western and European journalists, photojournalists documenting a lot of this work. And there was less, I think, representation by the people who were protesting that were telling their own stories and being able to document their own stories through the use of like cameras and phones and whatnot, which today we're able to. So I think that's like one of the interesting shifts that's happened. Like, and just like for us, like we were both protesting and taking photos here in the US and also in Lebanon. We were part of what was going on and we were participating in different ways. And I think having the perspective of the people who are also protesting, the people who are also affected, for them to be the people behind the lens also and telling these stories, I think that's something that technology has really shifted for us.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey folks, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're interested in learning more about the photographer, you can check out more of their images and stories on our website, scop.io, and buy our book on any major online retailer or your local bookstore. Tune in to our next episode. And don't forget to subscribe. See ya!